What up, Pink Ladies, T-Birds, just happy watchers of my My name is Jimmi Pynk, and this is the most unflattering angle ever. There's really not a way to put up a men's jean cutoff into a flattering silhouette with a fitted shirt after the COVID-19. And by the COVID-19, I mean the 19 pounds that everybody gained over the year. So we were live a little bit earlier today. Oh, I'm doing this sarcastically, so let me do it sarcastically while people come into the room. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment, subscribe, and this episode is brought to you by Manscaped 2.0. Shave your balls, fellas. Oh, I just got demonetized, didn't I? Look at me doing free advertisement for shit. But on some real shit, I'm not advertising, donating me money or Patreon. However, I do have an Etsy. So if you like custom t-shirts, if you not buying none of this bullshit, I'm really about to get demonetized, and you still want a custom face mask, custom drinkware, water bottles like mine, water bottles, coffee mugs, glassware, gift sets, just go to Etsy and look up Nostalgia Mask, all one word. Hey, Sierra. Sierra is my capo and also a client, but I'm also a client of hers. She also does custom artwork and different things she's done. And sometimes, spoiler alert, sometimes because both of our degrees are in art, sometimes we get like real foreign on y'all and we start talking about some other shit. But y'all learn some shit too. It's all good. Happy Pride to everybody. Speaking of Nostalgia Mask Store, everything that has to do with Pride, whether it be queer icons or Pride-specific merchandise, is 15% off in my Etsy store. Again, just look up Nostalgia Mask, all one word. Let's talk about feminist masterpieces. If I was a better person and I had more time, I would have always been the YouTuber that did the video essay. And one day I would like to do one just to see if I can. But right now, what we were discussing, and I had posted this on Facebook one day, and it actually stemmed from Capo Sierra there, who had ordered a super combo for me, which is a t-shirt, a face mask, and a piece of drinkware, in her case, a water bottle. That was Josie and the Pussycats, the live action movie, which I heart stand, love that film, underrated, very meta before meta was a thing, completely underrated, marketed completely the wrong way. It was marketed to teen girls as like a Gem and the Holograms or Barbie and the Rockers or Spice Girls type of thing, which is not what the film was at all. It was a very meta. This was a comic book and a 70s cartoon, which is very dumb. very meta, very how media uses these artists to set trends and make you buy things. And it was what year? Sierra 99, 2000, maybe 2009. I don't know. But it's actually a smarter movie than people give it credit for. And that started a conversation. Excuse me. And excuse my voice because, excuse me, sinus and allergies have kicked back in. And it was very meta before meta was the big thing. Um, but I had mentioned on Facebook after watching How Did It Get Made about Grease 2 and doing Sierra's set that Josie and the Pussycats, Jawbreaker, Barbed Wire. I said Josie and the Pussycats, Grease 2, Barbed Wire, Jawbreaker, and what was the fifth one? Josie and the Pussycats, Jawbreaker, Grease 2, Barbed Wire, and Tank Girl were underrated feminist masterpieces. Hey, Jason, thank you for the answer. Thank you. They were critical bombs. No one liked them because, of course, it's a girl movie, so we have to market it like this. And they were all really marketed incorrectly. So, therefore, the wrong audience was watching them and they were looking for the wrong thing. And they're all feminist masterpieces. So I want to discuss anything that you guys want to talk about those 5 movies, maybe other movies that you thought were feminist masterpieces that were marketed to the wrong people. Because I damn near want to say Cruella. After going to see Cruella and watching the Dan Merles and the Double Toasteds and the Captain Midnights and the Jeremy Johns and watching what they had to say. And I'm like, you guys are really, really concentrating way too much on the fact that this is 101 Dalmatians prequel. Because I don't think that's what it is. I think that Disney probably forced the filmmaker to include some things to say it's a prequel. But if you see the movie, I choose to watch it as a reimagining of a young Cruella de Vil and cut the story off there. Because if you don't look at it as a prequel and don't look at it as an origin story and just look at it as a standalone film, it's way better. And that's the way that I choose to look at it. I don't look at it as it's going to eventually be 101 Dalmatians. I choose to take it as a standalone movie about a young girl named Stella who made her mark on the fashion game and came from rags to riches. I choose to look at it like that. I think it's a better film. And I think maybe even that stemmed me into this conversation because I can even argue that that is a poorly critically received feminist masterpiece that is not really critically acclaimed. But more so, I wanted to talk about the five that I mentioned, which again is Josie and the Pussycats live action, Jawbreaker, Barbed Wire, Tank Girl, and Jawbreaker. Too many people are so like, oh, they're so cliche. But are they? Or were they ahead of their time in being the cliche and no one recognizes it? Like, perfect example, let's start with Barbed Wire. Because no one ever said that Pamela Anderson was a great actress. Okay? No one's ever thought that. No one's ever said that. But in the same way, Keanu Reeves' blank, boring style of acting was perfect for The Matrix and perfect for John Wick, I felt like Pamela Anderson's blank, boring, stiff style was perfect for Barbed Wire. And quite technically, yes, what that and Grease 2 has in common, it's a gender swap of a much better, much more well received, much beloved movie. Even though when I put Grease and Casablanca in the same category, fuck no. But I'd much rather watch those than this new West Side Story. I said it and I'm not taking it back. Okay, I'm talking about. Yeah, I did actually. I used to watch Once Upon a Time, and that's actually closer to the source material than anything because she spilt ink on herself on Once Upon a Time, and the actual story, how she became Cruella and her hair split colors, was because she drank ink. So the ink, and if you really think about it, if you really want to break it down and get real technical with it, the ink, like I said before in the earlier video, I don't love the fact that she was born with black and white hair, but the ink per se is what also changed her hair color and her personality because she was sketching and designing clothes. It was still the ink that changed her. See what I'm saying? Like, shit be smarter than what people give it credit for. It was still the ink that changed her into Cruella. It was just the ink she was using to sketch some designs. It was still the ink. Either way, it was still the ink. In this case, it was just the ink she was using to sketch her designs. It was still the ink. Or for that matter, we can get even deeper and say it was still the ink, INC, like incorporated. Because she was building her own brand. Well, Barbed Wire is a gender swap on Casablanca. Barbed Wire is Casablanca. Um, with the gender switched and post-apocalyptic and a lot of excuse to put Pamela Anderson in fetish wear. But putting her in the Humphrey Bogart role and Pamela Anderson at the peak, at the very peak of her celebrity, and her being known for just being like just a sex pot, and putting her in fetish gear, but making that part of the characteristic and part of the aesthetic. And that, in a couple of ways, making a lot of sense. That being why her bar was popular. That being why she can go undercover in certain places as a high class hooker or a stripper. That being the reason why she kind of flew under the radar, because they just thought, oh, this is just a sexy bitch. It made sense. The blank, robotic, no emotion performance really works the same way as Keanu Reeves does in The Matrix. And nobody said Barbed Wire was going to get an Oscar. But we don't always sit down and watch movies because everything is not going to be still Magnolias. Everything is not going to be Titanic. And this gender swap on Casablanca, people were pissed about because it's Casablanca. But for what they did with it, it had a very strongly feminist message to it. And that's why I listed amongst these other feminist, like I'll say B movies or critical bombs or bombs at the box office, but feminist masterpieces. Everyone praises Humphrey Bogart's sacrifice at the end. No one cared about Pamela Anderson because all y'all was worried about is her titties is about to pop out of this black patent leather dress and she can't act. But the blankness and woodenness of her acting worked just as well as Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. It works just as well. This is a post-apocalyptic world where she was basically neutral. I'm just here to get my money, even though really underlying that wasn't the case. But she was the perfect reason that the resistance was able to get by and get to doing what they needed to do because she had always been this person. Where it was like, I don't give a fuck about y'all missions. I'm here to get paid out my bar. I don't give a fuck about y'all. So the stiff wooden, this is just what I do, works. I'm a hot blonde bitch out on the bar. I'm on nobody's side but mine. I'm about my money and that's it. I'm neutral. But really, she never was. It works. Hey, Shine Bright. Yeah. Um, Jawbreaker is the teen movie spun on its head. It's not really trying to teach you anything, except for it's extremely fucking queer. It's Mean Girls if Mean Girls was homoerotic. Um, Jawbreaker is very dark. It's as dark as Heather's with a sugary candy coating on it. It couldn't be a precursor to Promising Young Woman more if it tried. And if Promising Young Woman literally tries to lie and say they didn't borrow from Jawbreaker, they're lying. The whole candy colored Jawbreaker girls are sugar and spice and everything nice except for whoops, they're not. Couldn't be clearer had the movie been marketed properly. It is very girls are bright colors and sugar and sweet and candy and rainbows, except they're not. I mentioned my top three villains in the last live, and I said Darth Vader, Cruella DeVille, and Harley Quinn. But baby, right underneath them is Courtney motherfucking Shane. Everybody wants to praise Regina George. Ain't no Virginia George without Courtney Shane. I don't understand how Jawbreaker does not get his props amongst the other teenage mean girls. And I think I know why. It's because she wasn't just a teenage mean girl. She was a full-fledged villain. She wasn't Virginia George. She wasn't Heather Chandler. She was a fucking sociopath. Satan the Heels is what they called her in the movie. And she was that. And again, I think they tried to market it for teen girls and make it a teenage movie. And for those of you guys that don't know, Heather's flopped at the box office for the same mismarketing. That's not what Jawbreaker was. Men are toys and props and playthings in this movie. They serve no importance to the plot except for the opposite of what usually happens to women in the plot. They're love interests, they're MacGuffins, they're there to be eye candy. Jawbreaker is Mad Max in a cotton colored and a cotton candy, rainbow colored candy shell, which is why Jawbreaker is the perfect name for the movie. And all the marketing was all these bright colors. The film is shot in all these bright colors. The characters wear all these bright colors. The colors actually matter to the story too. You gotta pay attention. And the men don't move the plot along at all. They're just there. Yeah, Tatiana Ali and Marilyn Manson are in the movie. All right, you guys, I gotta go to the bathroom. Give me 1 second. Think about some other examples while we're talking about these movies. Okay. Now, Jason, we'll get into the craft, but I think that the craft is well known to be a feminist masterpiece. I'm talking about these underrated movies. Something I thought about Josie and the Pussycats. And I don't know if I mentioned it during this portion, so I'll reiterate. Josie and the Pussycats was meta before meta was a thing. Josie and the Pussycats was about how pop culture and media is used to manipulate people to buy things. But here's where the feminist portion comes in. It wasn't just that, and proven by the sponsorship and how they marketed Josie and the Pussycats was actually anti the message of Josie and the Pussycats. There was so much product placement, which there isn't all movies, but it was so strong in Josie and the Pussycats and these brands, these Steve Maddens and Targets and McDonald's, didn't realize that they were the butt of the joke. But not only was that a meta commentary, but also a feminist message, because look how they targeted teen girls with the marketing and within the film. Revlon streetwear. It got me. And I was grown when Josie and the Pussycats came out. Not super grown, but definitely like 20. If you ever get the glorious chance and find out where it's streaming at right now, matter of fact, Sierra, do me a favor. No, there was no du jour. That was a boy band joke. That was a meta commentary. But even with that, du jour was an NSYNC, was a Backstreet Boys, was a manufactured band to get young girls who has the most disposable income and who are the most impressionable as teenagers to buy things. It's a commentary from Jump Street. But not only were they targeting females and you need to wear this, you need to have the new slang, orange is the new pink, Steve Madden is the new hot brand, all of these things. At the end of it, your big bad boss was not a man. It was an insecure female who was never popular, who just wanted to be popular. It's literally every other teen movie you ever seen. Queen Bees and Wannabes. She was a wannabe. She wasn't popular. She did all of this shit to get to the top of her industry, to get everybody to look like her. Purple and feathers is the new popular shit because I want to wear purple and feathers. So I'm going to make everybody wear purple and feathers. And when you find out what is going on, it's this insecure girl who never had friends, who is trampling on her own kind. I'm going to brainwash these teenagers. We going to kill people off and put it on behind the music. The person that was in charge of all of this shit, that raised through the ranks to do all of this, was an insecure, unpopular female whose ultimate goal was to make everybody think she was the coolest bitch in the world. And y'all want to say that ain't a feminist movie? Yeah, come on, man. It was so meta on so many levels, but they missed the joke and really took all this marketing, like they paid all this money to be like these huge marketing pieces in this movie, not realizing they were the butt of the joke. And I remember when Josie and the Pussycats came out, It was Josie and the Pussycat shit everywhere, just like it was in the movie. Revlon had that. That was the first real movie. You see it all the time now. Makeup brands. I got a Tetris by NYC eyeshadow palette right now. We see it all the time now. In 2009, wasn't nobody doing that. Wasn't no OPI times Minnie Mouse. Wasn't nobody doing that. The first people that did that was Revlon Streetwear times Josie and the Pussycats. That was the first time it was done, son. They were the butt of the joke, and they took that shit and made the joke and the meta-ness of it fucking reality. They were the butt of the joke and didn't even realize it. They paid for a movie making fun of them, and nobody caught on that that was the point of the movie. What's up, bro? Bobby Peso in the building. What's up, bro? Hot day of summer. I see you. Yes, Parker Posey. Fiona, Parker Posey, 100%. What question do you have, Bobby? Yeah. They missed the whole point of the movie. Like, they were the butt of the joke. They were doing exactly what Josie and the Pussycats was making fun of. And that's why the marketing of it made the movie flop. Because they were making fun of exactly what they were doing with it. Josie and the Pussycat is one of the smartest fucking movies I ever seen. And that's not hyperbole. Josie and the Pussycats is one of the smartest movies that I've ever seen. It's meta before it's meta. It's making fun of pop culture before anybody else really did. It's almost Trey Parker and Matt Stone level of, we're making fun of you and you're giving us, money to make fun of you. And Josie and the Pussycats, well ahead of this time, was, the first people that really did that in the film. Yes, Bobby, what is your question? I want to know what his question is. Because I know my bro is like, when we were in a rap group, like, we were ahead of our time because we was fucking nerd fucking core before it was a such thing as nerd core. Jesus, I have a song on my album that's all puns on superheroes. And one that's all about anime and gamer culture. Do I think Blazing Saddles was the first movie with that satire? Well, Bobby, the movies that we're discussing right now are like, we're like really talking about feminist movies, but I'll allow it. I think a lot of Mel Brooks movies were the OG for that. The difference between Mel Brooks and something like Josie and the Pussycats, and I'm gonna give you my honest answer. I think Mel Brooks is the originator of that. I think Mel Brooks was very smart about that, him being Jewish and the parents of Holocaust survivors and doing a lot of. I'm sorry, I'm watching a stray dog run up the street and make sure it ain't coming up here. Um, I think Mel Brooks specialized in that. From Young Frankenstein to High Society, from Blazing Saddles to History of the World Part 1 to The Producers and Springtime for Hitler, I think Mel Brooks is probably, if not the first, the best that ever did it. If he wasn't the first, I think he's the best that ever did it. The difference being is that whereas I honestly believe that there are people that laugh at Blazing Saddles in the same way as some of Tarantino's stuff, is because you're a fucking racist and you think it's funny that he's just being called nigger a lot. And I think you just think that's funny because white people is calling a black person nigger, not even realizing that one of the co-writers of that film was Richard Pryor, and you're not realizing the commentary. Which is why some people are saying, well, Blazing Saddles couldn't be made today. Why can't it? And we just had Django Unchained less than 10 years ago. Why couldn't you? We just had Django Unchained. It say nigga more times. 3 times as much. It says nigger. It's that people are fucking dumb. And satire is really smart. And meta comedy is really smart. And a lot of times, things that are smart that people misconstrue and don't get are actually going off of the lowest common denominator. And I think people don't actually realize why Blazing Saddles is funny. I think they missed the point. Which is the same argument that I'm making about Josie and the Pussycats. I think that people missed the point. And I think that there are a lot of no Sade white people that just think it's funny because these white people are just openly calling this man a nigger, and I think they just think that's funny. Because they think he's just sitting there and taking it, and they're not getting the satire and the comedy of it. I think they just think it's funny because everybody is calling him a nigger, and he's just sitting there and taking it. I think people, especially when it's a really good comedy, or there are other jokes layered on top of it as well, I think that people miss the commentary because you also have broad jokes like cowboys is drinking black coffee and eating beans. So, of course, it's just a scene of people farting for 10 minutes. That's why you get some people to say, well, they couldn't make Blazing Saddles today. Why? They just made Django Unchained. They just made The Hateful Eight. They made 12 Years a Slave. Them movies say nigger way more than Blazing Saddles. And these have been since the 21st century. And they say nigger way more than Blazing Saddles do. Why couldn't you? Because people are more woke, and then you would be like, oh, we get the joke now, and now we're uncomfortable because the joke is on us. That's my answer. Bruh, I hope I answered that question for you, because that's the answer. I don't feel like a lot of people realize that was the joke. I think the commentary of the joke and how smart Mel Brooks was a lot of times went over people's head. Because he did a lot of broad jokes. There was so many jokes with Mel Brooks that there was jokes for everybody. There was slapstick, there was potty humor, there was other things, but his movies have always had a commentary underneath them that was very smart that I think some people completely missed because there was so much other comedy going on. And when you hear people say, well, they could never do Blazing Saddles now, it's because you missed that part of Blazing Saddles and what the commentary actually really was.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Hanging in there.
Good. Right. So exactly. Yeah, exactly. Tropic Thunder. Listen, honey. I thought I was going to have a problem with Tropic Thunder. But I think people missed that too because Robert Downey Jr. was nominated for an Oscar for being in blackface. And I think there was a lot of issue with that. And I was one of those people. But as somebody, and Bobby will tell you, because like I said, as a rap group, we was ahead of our time. Because we was the nerd rappers before this was a thing that was cool to do. And we had a lot of pop culture knowledge, even in different areas amongst ourselves. And we were a bunch of fucking cinephiles and TV heads and pop culture sponges. I thought I was going to have a problem with Tropic Thunder. I said, but before I jump out the window on why the fuck is Robert Downey Jr. being nominated for an Oscar for being in blackface, let me watch the movie. And as I watched the movie and the entire time, he was the butt of the joke because you did have Big Mama's son or Percy Jackson's sidekick or whatever other movie you want to call him from as Al Pacino, the rapper that was in the storyline, when him being in blackface and trying to be a black man and the actual black man checking him at every goddamn second. So that was the butt of the joke. I was like, okay. Again, that internal, it has something smarter to say. You actually have a black, who was never marketed as because he wasn't a big name. So it's Jack Black and it's Robert Downey Jr. and it's Ben Stiller at the peak of all of their fame. And we're not really talking about the other people in the movie or anything. And when you get to Al Pacino, the rapper, who is an actual black dude, and in fact, another internal joke that hip hop is so misogynistic and he was actually gay. Another meta commentary on top of another ghetto monetary. Another meta commentary on top of another meta commentary. Because by the end of the movie, we find out he's queer. When the first time we are introduced to him is busting nut and booty sweat and the hypermasculinity of hip hop. Tropic Thunder has a lot of meta commentary on top of it as well, but that movie was praised for it. Which you don't get without a Mel Brooks, without a Josie and the Pussycats, without a Jawbreaker. People was doing that already. The fact that Robert Downey Jr. was in blackface, but this black character, not only this black character, this black, what we thought was hyper masculine, but ended up being queer black character, was the one that was checking him every goddamn second in the movie. Every time he felt like he really thought he was a black man, motherfucker, no, the fuck you're not. And what the fuck are you doing? I get that. But I don't think the Academy did. I think the Academy was just like, oh my God, Robert Downey Jr. is so convincing as a black man. Instead of not realizing like how ridiculous blackface is to a black person, which is what the story was saying. Sorry. The whole thing with, and I know we ain't supposed to say this word no more, you never go full retard. It was so much meta commentary about the film industry of people portraying characters instead of casting actual people who are this. And it was plain as fucking day. But because there's all these other jokes stacked on top of it.
Are you on the telephone right now?
I do not.
Okay.
All these other jokes stacked on top of it that people missed exactly what the story was talking about. Oh, that's gross. Yeah, booty juice and busting the nut. Yeah. Now, we were talking more about like feminist films like that, but yeah, Tropic Thunder fits right into that as a commentary, a meta commentary on things that people missed the whole point of what Ben Stiller was trying to say. And again, Ben Stiller is Jewish, and the parents of his parents, or his grandparents, I say, Ben Stiller's grandparents, are Holocaust survivors. So again, saying things like Mel Brooks' parents were Holocaust survivors. Like, it's shit that they're trying to bring to you and show you, like, hello, and y'all are missing it. They're burying truth for you in plain fucking sight, and all you are seeing is the wrong side of what they're saying. But listen here, it's been great talking to you guys, but the freaks come out at night. If y'all didn't just, yeah, I can't just be out here like this and not paying attention to y'all in my head, not being on the swivel. And I don't feel like I'm paying enough attention to my surroundings to be out here. So I'm going to wrap this up. It's been great talking to y'all. Thank y'all again All Pride merchandise, as well as other merchandise, is 15% off. At my Etsy store, Nostalgia Mask, you can place custom orders. Keep that in mind. I'm getting the fuck up out of here because, like I said, my city been wilding, and I've been on live 3 times with y'all in 2 days. That people have walked up and I had my head on a swivel, like I'm listening to music, making sure what the fuck is going on, and I don't like that. So I'm gonna have to wrap this up. But I thank y'all. It's been great talking to y'all. It's nicer outside, so I'll be live a little bit more often. And I love y'all. I miss y'all. We're gonna talk some more. Like I said, I'm probably gonna be doing a lot more lives than actual videos. But we'll talk. My voice is getting raspy. I'm hungry. I smell Puerto Rican food and I want some, and I can't even have none of that. And I accidentally spit on my hand and I gotta wash my hands. So y'all keep it crazy. Deuces.